When we talk about victory, most people immediately think about strategies, about strength, about working harder, about pushing themselves to the edge. And yes, all of those have their place. But I want you to understand something deeper today. Before every action, before every step, before every victory, there must be prayer. Prayer is not just a ritual, not just words whispered in silence. It is the foundation of strength, the unseen power that shapes the outcome of what is seen. If you want victory in your life, you must begin by praying first. Think of it this way. When a builder constructs a house, they don't start with the walls or the roof. They dig deep, they lay a foundation, they anchor everything on solid ground. Without the foundation, the most beautiful structure will collapse at the first storm. Prayer is that foundation. If you want your dreams, your goals, your life to stand strong against the storms, then prayer must be the ground you build upon. So often we run to God after the storm has already torn down the house. We come after the defeat, after the pain, after the failure. We come when everything seems broken. And yes, He listens, He restores, He heals. But imagine what would happen if instead of waiting until the end, you began at the very beginning. Imagine if every morning, before you rushed into your plans, your meetings, your struggles, your decisions, you paused and said, God, I need you first. Lead me, guide me, strengthen me. That's where victory truly begins. When you pray first, something happens on the inside of you. You shift from relying on your own strength to depending on His. And here's the truth: our strength will always run out. Our wisdom will always fall short. But His strength never runs dry, and His wisdom has no limits. That's why people who pray walk into battles differently. They walk with peace when others walk with panic. They walk with courage when others walk with fear. They walk with vision when others walk with confusion. Prayer prepares you before the battle even begins. Think about the battles you've faced in your life. Maybe it was the battle of uncertainty, where you didn't know which path to take. Maybe it was the battle of fear, where you doubted if you had what it takes. Maybe it was the battle of brokenness, where your heart was heavy and your spirit was weary. If you look back, the moments you prayed were the moments you stood tall. Those were the times when, even if the outcome wasn't what you expected, you still found strength to rise again. Prayer doesn't just change circumstances, it changes you in the middle of the circumstances. And I want to remind you today, prayer is not about eloquence. It's not about saying the right words or sounding impressive or quoting perfectly. Prayer is about honesty. It's about opening your heart and saying, Lord, I cannot do this without you. That's the kind of prayer that shakes heaven. That's the kind of prayer that brings victory. When you come with humility and faith, even if your words are broken, heaven listens. Do not underestimate what happens in those quiet moments when you pray before you act. You may not feel fireworks. You may not hear a thunderous voice. But what you're doing is aligning your heart with the Creator of heaven and earth. And when your heart is aligned with Him, nothing can stand against you. You step into your day not alone, but with the assurance that the one who holds victory in His hands is walking with you. Too often we think victory begins when the problem disappears. But no, victory begins the moment you decide to pray. That's when defeat loses its grip. That's when fear starts to crumble. That's when strength starts to rise in you. You might not see the finish line yet, but prayer lets you run with endurance because you know you're not running in your own power. Some of you today are standing at the edge of decisions. Some of you are staring down battles that look impossible, and the temptation is to charge ahead, to figure it out, to lean on your own understanding. But I urge you, stop for a moment. Bow your head. Whisper that prayer. Put God first, because when you pray first, victory doesn't just come, it follows you. So don't wait until the storm rages to find shelter. Don't wait until defeat surrounds you to cry out. Start at the beginning. Start with prayer. Because when you pray first, victory comes. Before a single battle is won on the outside, there must first be victory on the inside. Too many people focus only on what they can see. Defeating the obstacle, breaking through the barrier, conquering the challenge, but they forget that the greatest wars are fought within the heart and the mind. And the truth is, if you cannot win the battle inside yourself, you will struggle to win the battle outside. That is why prayer is not only the beginning of victory, it is the place where inner victory is forged long before the outward results ever show. When you bow your head in prayer, you are doing more than asking for help. You are declaring that fear will not rule you, that doubt will not control you, that discouragement will not define you. Every time you pray, you are tearing down the walls that try to keep you trapped in defeat. Think about how often our greatest enemy is not the world around us, but the voices inside us. The voice that whispers, "You're not enough." The voice that says, "You can't make it." The voice that tells you, "It's impossible." Prayer silences those voices. Prayer replaces them with the voice of truth, the voice of strength, the voice that reminds you, you are not alone, and you are more than a conqueror. The outward battles of life will come and go. You will face challenges in your career, in your family, in your relationships, in your dreams. But what determines whether you rise or fall is not the size of the problem. It's the condition of your spirit. A weary, defeated heart cannot stand in the storm, but a heart strengthened through prayer, a spirit that has already claimed victory within, can stand tall no matter how fierce the winds may blow. Prayer gives you that inner strength. It builds in you the kind of resilience that refuses to give up, even when everything around you says it's over. Remember this, the first battlefield is your mind. If you lose there, you lose everywhere. But if you win there, no enemy can stop you. Prayer trains the mind to trust instead of fear, to hope instead of despair, to believe instead of doubt. It's like lifting weights for the soul. Each prayer builds spiritual muscle, so when the heavy challenges come, you're no longer crushed by the weight. You carry it with strength you didn't even know you had. Consider the times in your life when everything seemed against you. You may not have seen a way forward. You may have felt overwhelmed, even powerless. But in that moment of prayer, something shifted. Maybe the problem didn't vanish instantly, but peace filled your heart. Courage rose up where there was only fear. That is inner victory. That is the victory prayer produces long before circumstances change. It is the confidence that even if the world has not yet shifted in your favor, your heart already knows the outcome. You will not be defeated. And here's the beauty of it. When you have inner victory, outward circumstances begin to lose their power over you. Fearful people panic when obstacles appear, but people with prayer in their spirit walk steady. Anxious people crumble when doors close, but people who have already prayed know that a closed door is not the end. It's simply a redirection. That kind of strength doesn't come from motivational words. It doesn't come from positive thinking alone. It comes from the power of prayer shaping your inner world. I want you to picture yourself as a warrior. The armor you wear, the shield you carry, the weapon you hold, none of that matters if your heart is already defeated before the fight begins. But if you step onto the battlefield with your spirit already secured in victory, the enemy doesn't stand a chance. Prayer clothes you in that unseen armor. It places a shield around your mind. It sharpens the sword of your faith. It prepares you to face whatever comes, not with trembling, but with triumph. You cannot control everything that happens outside of you. You cannot control the storms, the obstacles, or the opposition, but you can control what happens inside of you. And prayer is how you take that control. Prayer is how you say, I will not let fear dictate my steps. I will not let doubt weaken my resolve. I will not let discouragement paralyze my progress. Every time you choose to pray first, you are choosing victory within. And once you have that, no matter how long the battle takes, the outcome is already decided, because victory begins in the heart, not in the headlines. It begins in the unseen place of prayer, not in the applause of the crowd. It begins when you decide that defeat will not live inside of you. And once that decision is made in prayer, the outside world eventually has no choice but to line up with the victory that has already been claimed within. That is why I say to you today, pray until the battle in your spirit is won, because when you win inside, you are already victorious outside. Life will always bring obstacles. No one walks through this world without facing walls that seem too high to climb, rivers that seem too wide to cross, or valleys that feel too dark to endure. The truth is, obstacles are part of the journey. But here is the difference between those who are crushed by them and those who rise above them: prayer. Prayer has a way of transforming what looks like a dead end into a doorway. It changes how you see the very thing that was meant to stop you, and it gives you the strength to walk through it with victory. When we look at obstacles only through human eyes, they appear as problems, setbacks, or punishments. They drain us, frustrate us, and make us question if we will ever move forward. But when you bring those same obstacles into prayer, your vision changes. Prayer doesn't always remove the mountain, but it gives you the perspective to see that the mountain is not there to destroy you. It's there to make you stronger. It's not there to end your story. It's there to shape your story. What was meant for harm begins to serve a greater purpose when prayer opens your eyes to God's perspective. Think of a seed placed into the dirt. At first, all you see is the darkness of the soil pressing down on it. To the natural eye, it looks buried, trapped, and forgotten. But in reality, that seed is not buried, it's planted. And soon, what looked like a crushing weight becomes the very soil that nourishes growth. In the same way, when you face obstacles, prayer reveals that you are not buried, you are planted. Your trial is the soil for your triumph. Your difficulty is the ground where your destiny takes root. Prayer gives you the faith to see that where others see only darkness, you see the beginning of new life. So often we cry out, "Why is this happening to me?" But prayer shifts the question to, "What is this teaching me?" That small change of perspective is powerful, because suddenly the obstacle is no longer your enemy. It becomes your teacher. The hardship becomes your training ground. The delay becomes your preparation. The pain becomes your refining fire. And when you emerge on the other side, you realize the obstacle didn't stop you. It built you. I want you to think about moments in your life when you thought you couldn't go on. The times when you said, "This is too much. I can't handle it." Yet here you are today, still standing. And if you look closely, you'll realize that it wasn't just your strength that carried you. It was the prayers you prayed. It was the times you fell on your knees and whispered words of surrender. It was those unseen moments when God gave you courage you didn't know you had, peace you couldn't explain, and hope that defied the circumstances. The obstacle didn't destroy you, because prayer turned it into an opportunity for God's strength to be revealed in you. You see, obstacles have a way of exposing what is inside of us. Without prayer, they expose fear, doubt, and weakness. But with prayer, they reveal resilience, faith, and courage. They draw out the greatness that was hidden beneath the surface all along. The pressure you feel today may feel unbearable, but prayer transforms pressure into power. What was meant to push you down becomes the very thing that pushes you forward. And let me tell you, opportunities rarely come wrapped in comfort. They come disguised as challenges. They come dressed in struggle. They come wrapped in problems that force you to grow, to stretch, to believe bigger than you ever have before. Without prayer, you will only see the difficulty. But with prayer, you begin to see the opportunity hidden inside the difficulty. That's how victories are born, by praying through the obstacle until you see the blessing on the other side. Every champion you admire, every person who has achieved greatness, has walked through obstacles. But what set them apart was not that life was easier for them. It was that they learned to see differently. They learned to face what others called impossible with a faith that said, through prayer, all things are possible. And that's the difference. Prayer transforms obstacles into stepping stones, and each step you take builds the pathway to victory. So don't despise the obstacles in front of you. Don't let them intimidate you or convince you that your journey is over. Instead, bring them to God in prayer. Ask Him to open your eyes to see beyond the problem, to see the possibility hidden within. Because when prayer changes your perspective, You no longer see an obstacle as the end. You see it as the very place where God will show his power. And when you understand that every obstacle becomes an opportunity for victory, there are moments in life when strength alone is not enough. You can push as hard as you want, fight as long as you can, but without direction, you end up running in circles. Victory is never just about power. It's about wisdom. It's about clarity. It's about knowing when to move, when to wait, and when to trust. And that is what prayer gives you. Prayer is more than asking for blessings. It is seeking guidance. It is leaning into the voice that knows the path before you ever take a step. So many people wear themselves out not because they lack effort, but because they lack direction. They chase after everything, trying to make sense of life, trying to force doors open that were never meant for them, or staying stuck in places they should have already left behind. That's what happens when you move without prayer. You move with your own understanding, and human understanding will always be limited. But when you pray, you tap into wisdom that is higher than your own, vision that is wider than your own, and strategy that is greater than anything you could plan on your own. Think about it. A soldier may have all the weapons in the world, but if he doesn't know where the enemy is or when to act, those weapons won't save him. In the same way, you may have talents, resources, and determination, but without guidance, you'll end up misusing them or wasting them. Prayer positions you to hear the instructions you need for the moment you're in. It gives you insight that no textbook, no mentor, no plan could fully give. It whispers to your spirit, this is the way, walk in it. How many times in your life have you looked back and said, if only I had known then what I know now? That's the power of prayer. It gives you access to the wisdom of God before the regret of hindsight arrives. It saves you from unnecessary pain. It spares you wasted years, and it leads you to places you never imagined you could reach. Sometimes the greatest victories are not in what you accomplish, but in what you avoid. And prayer is what keeps you from walking blindly into traps that were never meant for you. There will be seasons when life offers you multiple paths, and you won't know which way to turn. Should you step forward or wait? Should you pursue this opportunity or let it pass? Should you fight harder or let go? Left on your own, those decisions can feel overwhelming. But when you bring them to God in prayer, peace comes. That peace is often the sign of his guidance. He may not shout the answer, but he will give you a calm assurance in the right direction. And that inner peace is worth more than 1,000 opinions from the crowd. Prayer doesn't just show you where to go, it shows you how to go. It teaches you patience when you want to rush, courage when you want to retreat, humility when pride creeps in, and strength when weakness knocks at the door. It doesn't just point you toward the victory, it prepares you to handle the victory when it comes. Because what good is winning if you don't have the character to sustain it? Prayer builds that character along the journey. And sometimes guidance through prayer won't make sense to the world around you. People may laugh at your choices. They may not understand why you took a certain step or why you refused another. But you'll know in your heart that prayer led you there, and in time, the fruit of obedience will silence the doubts. Victory doesn't always look immediate, but when you're walking in alignment with God's direction, it is inevitable. I can tell you this, some of the greatest breakthroughs in life don't come from pushing harder, but from pausing long enough to pray and listen. It's in the stillness of prayer that clarity comes. It's in the quiet that the next step reveals itself. And when you walk out of prayer with that clarity, you walk out with confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who guides you. So don't just pray for strength to win the battle. Pray for wisdom to know how to fight it. Don't just pray for doors to open. Pray for discernment to know which doors are meant for you. Don't just pray for opportunities. Pray for guidance to recognize the right ones when they appear. Because with prayer, victory is not just possible, it is purposeful. That is why I tell you today, seek guidance in prayer. For when you walk with his wisdom, you will always walk in victory. One of the most overlooked truths about victory is that it rarely happens in a single moment. It doesn't always come with the crash of drums or the roar of a crowd. Victory is not just a sudden event. It's often the result of steady, consistent steps taken day after day. And prayer is what gives you that consistency. Prayer is the daily rhythm that keeps you centered, keeps you strong, and keeps you moving forward even when life doesn't go the way you expected. The problem with so many of us is that we treat prayer like a fire alarm. We only reach for it in emergencies. When everything is falling apart, when the storm is raging, when we feel completely helpless, then we run to prayer. And yes, God meets us in those desperate cries. But think how much stronger you would be if prayer wasn't only your last resort, but your first response every single day. When prayer becomes your daily practice, it creates a foundation of consistency that no circumstance can shake. Consistency in prayer builds consistency in life. The world around you may be chaotic, but prayer anchors your spirit in peace. Problems may rise against you, but prayer trains your heart to respond with faith instead of fear. It's like a tree planted by rivers of water. It may face storms, it may face winds, but because its roots run deep, it never withers. Daily, prayer is what builds those roots. It's what keeps you grounded when everything else is unstable. Think about the discipline it takes to build anything of value. An athlete doesn't become great by training once a month. A musician doesn't master their craft by practicing only when they feel inspired. A student doesn't become wise by opening a book once a year. Greatness comes from consistency, from showing up again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching. Prayer is no different. It is the daily discipline of aligning your heart with God, of training your spirit, of building your inner strength one prayer at a time. The beauty of consistent prayer is that it prepares you long before the battle arrives. It's not just about asking for help in the crisis. It's about being strengthened in the quiet, ordinary days so that when the crisis does come, you are already ready. You don't panic because your heart has already been practicing peace. You don't crumble because your spirit has already been trained in endurance. You don't give up because prayer has built in you a habit of perseverance. Some victories are not won in one giant leap. They're won in 1,000 small steps. They're won in the daily choice to get up and pray when you don't feel like it, to trust when you don't see results, to believe when doubt tries to whisper in your ear. Each prayer may seem small in the moment, but together they create a powerful momentum that carries you forward. That's the strength of consistency. That's why daily prayer matters. And let me tell you, consistency in prayer doesn't just shape your spirit. It shapes your character. It builds patience when you want everything now. It builds humility when pride tries to rise. It builds gratitude when negativity creeps in. Over time, the person you are becoming through prayer matters just as much as the victories you are seeking. Because true victory is not just about what you achieve, it's about who you are as you achieve it. Prayer makes sure you don't just win on the outside, but also on the inside. There will be days when prayer feels powerful, when you sense the presence of God so clearly, when your heart feels lifted and your soul feels refreshed. But there will also be days when prayer feels dry, when you struggle for words, when you wonder if it even matters. And it is in those days, when you pray anyway, that your faith grows deeper. Because consistency is not about feelings. It's about faithfulness. Victory belongs to those who keep showing up, who keep praying, who keep trusting, even when the feelings fade. The truth is, life will test your endurance. It will try to wear you down, to discourage you, to make you quit. But consistent prayer keeps you steady. It reminds you that the battle is not yours alone, that you don't have to carry the weight by yourself, that you are sustained by a power greater than you. And with that daily strength, you can endure what others cannot. You can rise when others fall, and you can press on until the victory is in your hands. So I tell you today, don't just pray when it's urgent. Pray because it's essential. Make it the rhythm of your life, the anchor of your life, the anchor of your days, the steady heartbeat of your soul. Because when prayer becomes consistent, your victory becomes inevitable. One of the greatest secrets about victory is that it is not just a single moment of triumph. It is the outcome of steady daily choices. Too often, we look at victory as a dramatic event, something sudden and explosive. But most victories are not won in a single day. They are won in the quiet discipline of everyday life. And prayer is what gives you that discipline. Prayer is what keeps you steady when emotions shift, when circumstances change, and when the storms of life come without warning. The challenge many people face is that they treat prayer like a parachute, something to grab only when everything is falling apart. And while God will meet you in those moments, prayer was never meant to be an emergency tool alone. Prayer is meant to be a daily rhythm. The first breath you take in the morning and the last whisper you release at night. When you build consistency in prayer, you build consistency in life. Think of a river flowing steadily. It may not look powerful at first glance, but over time, that steady flow carves valleys, shapes mountains, and creates new paths. In the same way, daily prayer, small and steady, carves strength into your soul. It may not feel dramatic in the moment, but day by day, it changes you, strengthens you, and prepares you for battles you don't even know are coming. Consistency in prayer builds resilience. It trains you to stand when everything else around you is shaking. It grounds you so deeply that even when storms rage, your roots remain unshaken. That's why a person of prayer doesn't fall apart easily. They have been training their spirit every day, strengthening their faith, deepening their trust. Victory is not a surprise for them. It is the natural fruit of the habits they've built in prayer. We understand this principle in every other area of life. Athletes don't succeed because of one big workout. They succeed because of thousands of consistent hours of training. Musicians don't master their instrument with one performance. They practice daily, even when no one is watching. Builders don't complete a house in a single day. They lay brick after brick, consistently until it's done. Why would victory in life be any different? Prayer is the daily training ground for your spirit. Every time you pray, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your victory. And let me remind you, consistency doesn't mean every prayer will feel the same. Some days, you'll feel a powerful connection, as if heaven itself is speaking directly to you. Other days, you may feel nothing at all. But consistency means you show up anyway, because faith is not built on feelings. It is built on faithfulness. And every prayer, no matter how small or how ordinary it feels, is a seed planted in your future victory. The beauty of consistent prayer is that it prepares you long before the test arrives. You don't wait until the crisis to start praying. You've already built the habit, the strength, the discipline. So when the storm comes, you are ready. You don't panic because you've already learned to lean on God daily. You don't give up because your spirit has been strengthened through countless moments of quiet prayer. Victory is not about being the strongest on the battlefield. It is about being prepared long before the battlefield even appears. Consistency also shapes who you are becoming. Each day you pray, you are not just asking for things. You are being transformed. You are learning patience in the waiting. You are learning humility in the listening. You are learning perseverance when answers don't come quickly. And in the process, you are becoming the kind of person who can carry victory well, because true victory is not only about what you win, it is about who you are when you win. So do not despise the small daily moments of prayer. They are not wasted. They are forming you, preparing you, strengthening you. And when you look back one day, you will realize that the victories you hold in your hands came not from a single prayer in a crisis, but from the countless prayers that built a lifetime of faith. That is why I tell you today, make prayer your daily rhythm, because consistency in prayer will always lead to consistency in victory. Every victory you see on the outside is always connected to something deeper on the inside. The fruit that shows above the ground is only possible because of the root that lies hidden beneath it. And prayer is that root. Without it, success is shallow, temporary, and fragile. With it, success becomes steady, lasting, and filled with peace. That is why prayer must come before victory, because true victory is never just about what you achieve. It's about what sustains you when you achieve it. Too many people chase the fruit without ever tending to the root. They want the applause, the promotion, the breakthrough, the achievement, but they neglect the unseen work of prayer. And here's the truth: fruit without roots cannot last. You can climb to the top of the mountain, but if your soul is empty, the view will feel hollow. You can hold the trophy, but if your heart is restless, the victory will ring hollow. Prayer is what makes victory meaningful. It ensures that when you do win, you're not just winning on the outside, you're also whole on the inside. Prayer roots you in something greater than yourself. It reminds you that your success is not built on your strength alone. It humbles you to recognize that every breath, every opportunity, every open door is a gift. And when you are rooted in gratitude through prayer, your victories no longer become moments of pride. They become testimonies of grace. That's what makes victory sweeter, because you know it's not just about what you've done, but about who has been with you every step of the way. Think of a tree standing tall in the middle of a storm. The winds beat against it, the rain pours down, the branches sway violently, but the tree does not fall. Why? Because its roots go deep into the soil. Life will send storms your way, storms of disappointment, storms of delay, storms of loss. If your victories are not rooted in prayer, those storms will strip them away. But if your roots are deep, if your life is anchored in prayer, you can withstand the storm and still bear fruit in its season. And let me say this: victory without prayer may look good for a moment, but it comes with restlessness. People who achieve without being rooted often find themselves chasing the next win, the next high, the next success, because the last one never satisfied them. But when prayer is your foundation, even small victories feel complete, because your peace does not come from the applause. It comes from being rooted in God's presence. Prayer makes victory enough, because you're not just celebrating what you did, you're resting in who He is. Prayer also protects you from the weight of victory. Sometimes success can be harder to carry than failure. Failure humbles you, but success can tempt you to forget where you came from. It can make you rely on yourself and drift away from the one who gave you strength. But when you are rooted in prayer, success doesn't inflate you, it grounds you. It reminds you that the higher you rise, the deeper you must stay connected to the root. Without prayer, victory can corrupt. With prayer, victory refines. And remember, the fruit of victory is not just for you. A tree does not eat its own fruit. Its fruit is for others, for shade, for nourishment, for life. In the same way, when your victories are rooted in prayer, they bless not only you, but those around you. Your success becomes a source of encouragement. Your testimony becomes a light to others, and your influence becomes a platform for something greater than yourself. That's what prayer does. It makes your victory meaningful for generations, not just for a moment. So never mistake the fruit for the root. Celebrate the victories, yes, but remember where they came from. Remember that without the secret place of prayer, without those quiet moments of surrender and trust, the fruit would never exist. And if you want more victories, don't chase the fruit. Nurture the root. Stay in prayer. Stay grounded. Stay connected. Because when you pray first, victory doesn't just come, it stays. That is why I tell you today, victory is the fruit, but prayer will always be the root.